Tom, great to see you, by the way.
Great to see you again too, Morten.
I was just thinking, where are you born and raised?
I am from Ghent. So I was born and raised in Ghent, went to school in Ghent and lived there actually all my life. I'm a true Ghentian.
And coming from Ghent is not the worst place if you talk about workflow and computers and IT, because it seems that there's something in your water, right?
There is something in the water in Ghent that seems to attract us to the printing industry.
How old were you when you started being interested in everything that comes to computers?
It's actually funny that you ask, and sometimes I think back to that as well. I must have been 16, 17 when I got attracted to technology. And I actually got involved in something called the European Youth Parliament.
Okay.
And so that's a simulation of the actual European Parliament, where there were actual committees working on very serious subjects
for
political,
young people, basically.
but all for 16, 17, 18-year-old people. And so you could choose to work on the serious subjects and get a real political opinion and try to mimic policy on that. But there was also next to that the journalist committee. And we were actually at that time publishing on a daily basis a small paper made on the first Macintoshes with a PageMaker at the time, printing on laser printers at that time. And so that's how I kind of rolled into desktop publishing and anything that is print related as well.
It's quite amazing, because I think that I spoke to quite a few people. I spoke to Wim Franzen, that you know as well from now ESCO, in a similar interview like this some years ago, when he was the general manager for Focus, and we both are almost the same age, and we started with the Commodore 64 and the basic programming and things like that. You're a little bit younger than me, so maybe you started elsewhere. But it's funny, because you talk to a lot of people that gets into by desktop publishing or by getting into music using computers and things like that. So it's kind of funny that you got that approach too, right?
Yeah, exactly, and you kind of stumble into it.
Yeah, and it kind of sticks to you, right? Because I mean, if you look at the graphics arts industry, it's technology, as you are working with daily, right? It's the art, it's the paper, it's the tactile, it's like everything that touches so many people in different aspects of life, I think.
Yeah, I think I was also really attracted to, well, there's two things, of course. I think that the entertainment part of the journalistic approach, rather than the very serious politics, is certainly what attracted me to that. The technological part to it, the innovative part, attracted me to that. But then when I actually had to go and choose a study, originally, I did go more into the political science that direction, to then notice that I had too much fun, and that studying was actually something extremely serious. And I decided to drop out.
So you never ended?
I never ended the study.
Let's say you never ended the kind of agreed by society way of getting a career, right?
That has been indeed somewhat challenging for me to follow the agreed by society path. And I then went back to the original love, to a certain extent, that I found, which was desktop publishing.
Just a question, because I was a little bit curious about that path. At that age, let's say that around 20, 23, 25 maybe, did you have like idols or icons and beacons that you looked upon?
That's a good question as well, because if you look at things black and white, and one never should look at things in black and white.
Laser writers were black and white.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right? But if you look at things in black and white, one of the ways that you can look at people in black and white is that I believe that you've got fan people and non-fan people, and I fall in the non-fan category.
So you've never been inspired by anybody?
I have been inspired by people, or I think I can be impressed by people's talents.
So it's not the person itself, it's more what they achieve, basically.
Yeah, or the passion in which they can bring things. And if you think about music, for instance, I think Tom Waits is an incredible performer, singer,
So now we have established in what direction of music you fancy, right?
Yeah, but I have got a very, very broad taste in music. But the way that the amount, the abundance of talent that Tom Waits has always attracted me to that person. He's a very interesting character as well, has got some mysteriousness around that.
So you're not only attracted to the music, you're also attracted to the character and studied him, or?
Studied him is a lot to say.
But you read about him.
Yeah, exactly.
The reason I was asking about icons or fans, non-fans was because something I think drives most people for their professional careers. And I don't know how you were when you were young, but I was like, I think many young people are a little bit uncertain where to go. And I remember the first apartment I bought, I asked my father and my mother, do you think this is a good choice? Is it, because it was a shitload of money, right? and then I thought it was kind of funny because then you got a kid, and then it was like your father and mother was not so important anymore because now the decisions of buying a house or buying a car or something other expensive was like, I make the decisions myself. But when I was younger, I was like, maybe too much influenced by what other people thought. So do you understand that separation, or?
I understand that to a certain extent. My story is different in the sense that at 18, I did not have an extremely good family situation. My father passed away when I was very young. My mother got a new partner, whom I did not get along very well, and at 18...
So you grew up very fast?
I think, well, I grew up very fast to then stay a kid for the rest of my life.
Not too bad, right?
But at 18, I left home, and I did want to explore the world on my own, and I wanted to make my own decisions, even if at home people were not necessarily ready for me to do that. And I did things very quickly. I got married at 20, divorced at 21, found somebody new at 23, got a kid at 23. So things went very quickly from there.
And how, I mean, if you look back now, and you were like, was it 47 now, or?
I'm 47, turning 48 later this year.
So I was just thinking that when you look at your youth, or because a lot of people are defined in their early 20s, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
So, and you say you're still a child in a way. Is that the creativity that you see? Because I mean, when you see kids play around, they don't know the rules, so they play what they think is nice or fun, right?
Yeah, I think that at some point, life to a certain extent catches up with you, because you're certainly,
you become responsible. Is that what you say?
You realize that you have become responsible, actually. I thought I'd never really take responsibilities except for my family. But then at some point you become a business owner and you still have responsibilities for the business and for the people that work for that business. And I actually have tried to always tackle that in a very playful way. But at some point, you come to realize that it is serious business, that I think I've taken my family and raising the kids always very seriously. But the business, in certain times, I thought this is a playground, and I maybe should have taken it more seriously at certain moments.
Would your life be considerably different if you had done that?
If I had taken the business more seriously, I think so. I think, and it's in hindsight, you always have 20/20 vision, as they say.
Of course.
But I think I've taken some bad decisions that have influenced the business in not a very positive way in the past. And I think that has cost money to me, to others. And so I think that that business, but also me personally, I would have been, to a certain extent, a different person or in a different place in my life at this moment.
I think it's maybe a little bit saturated, but this is saying that what you're not killed of, you get stronger for, right? And I think that to some extent that is why I think that what people experience when they have run their own business is basically that the wrong decisions make sure, hopefully, that you don't do the same wrong decisions again, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, keep you curious to not be afraid of taking the wrong decisions.
And that's the interesting part of where we are with the business today, because actually I returned back to the original vision, and when I see the things that we're doing, we're actually going, following more or less the same strategy. We're picked out the old ideas.
Basically, the old business plan, and you just...
Yeah, however, we said, this was not right.
You ran it through ChatGPT. I knew it.
We said, oh, we didn't go right here, we didn't go right there, we didn't go right there. Let's do that differently.
So it was a learning experience.
It is certainly a learning experience, yeah.
And if we move a little bit forward to recently, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you is... just a few days ago, actually, your company 4P sent out a press release about a new team, basically, right? And and as you said to me before, and I could see that because I know some of the people at least, and I could see that it was over time. But now you made more like an announcement. The 4Ps that weren't, let's say, generation 1, and let's say that now we have generation 2 or version 2. What is the biggest difference?
The biggest difference, I believe, is that for a very long time, I thought I had to have all the answers. For a very long time, I thought that I needed to come up with all of the ideas, and I needed to drive people in a certain direction, and that I needed to come up with that right direction and needed to make sure that that direction was being followed. I think that if you look at the enrichment of the team today, I actually try to surround myself with people with strong characters that can be very verbal
and can challenge you as well, maybe.
Exactly, that can challenge me, because I know that can be challenging at times.
But it's still your money, right?
It's not only my money; it's others people's money as well.
The reason I'm asking is because I think what you describe is typically for owner run companies is that you know better kind of thing. So the version 1, I think, is typical for that. So the thing that have brought you to the realization of version 2, where you trust people more and where you find the differences in people as something that encourage and enhance your company, right? Is that age only or experience, or is it also a realization that you have, okay, I can't do everything myself?
I think it's a number of things. It is first of all, once you realize your weaknesses, which I probably realized before, but once you also realize that you can share responsibility, actually, it's to a certain extent, it's a liberation. Once you can say, okay, let's try to do this together with multiple people. Let's not just look at me, but I've got my flaws, I've got my weaknesses, and let's try to strengthen those with strengths that other people may have. That is very liberating, actually, and it gives a completely different dynamic to the company.
In the press release, it also says that if you look at the implementation market, it is undertaking a huge growth these years. And of course, I understand that 4Ps probably don't expect to take the entire market on all implementation worldwide. World domination. I should have known. No, I was just thinking, because 4Ps is known from the graphics arts industry. Is that still the playground for 4Ps, or you see also opportunities in a broader perspective? Or?
No, I really think that the printing industry is going to remain our core market. We have looked at adjacent industries, but it boils down to printing at the end. We see opportunities, for instance, in industrial print, which is not the printing industry, and so...
I actually only learned that last year. But it's quite interesting because it has a lot of similarities, but you're right, it is an entirely different market.
Well, it is different markets.
Different players and different markets.
If you print on light switches, on carpets, on whatever it is that you print on, it is a completely different market.
Mainly also because they don't identify themselves as printers at all.
Well, they are not printers. They are manufacturers of something else that they happen to print on.
Precisely, yeah.
So those markets are markets that we could serve and where our knowledge could certainly be of benefit. But as I told you last time, I believe that there's a significant potential for the type of company that we are, for the knowledge that we have, that we can still continue for many years to serve that market and to grow and be very happy campers.
And you said to me when we met in Las Vegas, you said to me that what the pandemic has learned, and of course the software guys knew that already, that you can do a lot of things on a remote basis, so that also means that even though you're based in Belgium, you don't have to limit yourself to Belgium, right? Mm-hmm. Is that part of the growth strategy that you can basically extend to broader markets, geography-wise?
We can certainly do that, and we have been doing that. We are serving markets in which we don't currently have a physical presence, so you're not a person there. Ultimately, if you want to properly serve that market, if you want to build relationship, and I still think that we are very much in a relationship business, you have to have feet on the ground. But we've grown as a company, people-wise, in 3 years we've doubled in size, team-wise, from about 6-7 people to 15 people today. That is still a very small company, realistically speaking.
But it's still a huge growth. I mean,
but it is a significant growth over a certain amount of time.
And I would say that if you look at some of the people that you have now engaged, people with seniority in the industry, so I mean, I guess that you need to deliver now, right? I mean, you have to keep on growing, you have to be financially strong, and you have to see like that the course you have set is pretty much aligned with, right?
And that boils down to the personal choice as well that I made for myself. I think that because of some of the not so wise business decisions that I took in the past, we had to recover at some point. Mm-hmm. But from the moment that we kind of recovered, that we got our head above the water again, then for me personally, the idea was, what am I going to do? What do I still want from life and from business? And that coincides with the fact that kids are getting old enough and that you've got a little bit more time and that you can do, that you can invest your time more into the business, that you're also looking to a certain extent at self-realization, not from a financial point of view, but
just what's fun.
Basically. Going back to why did I actually start this and where do I want to go?
Makes sense.
And that's where you then go full steam ahead. And of course, that brings along investments and responsibilities, but it really is the momentum that you want to get into, that you want to keep, and where you really tell yourself, where you have the ambition for yourself, where you say, I really want to get it right this time.
We have to end, but I will not let you go right away. You spoke about Tom Waits.
Yeah.
Have you read any books that have made any significance to your life?
Have I read any books that have made a significant difference in my life? I have to admit that I am not a big reader. I have...
So when you read, is it literature or professional?
Well, actually, when I read today, I typically read history more than anything else. I'm a avid runner, so I listen to podcasts or to spoken books.
That's great. And the next question is any, let's say, movies from the 50s or 60s or 70s that has made any impact on Tom?
Movies from the 50s or 60s. I think it is not from the 50s or 60s. It is from the 90s. But it does have that 50s, 60s touch to it, which is Wild at Heart. Wild at Heart with you'll have to excuse me, but where you have the famous quote of the main actor that says, "This is my snakeskin jacket." It is the symbol of my individuality and my belief in personal freedom. Nick, help me.
I can't remember. But
Nick Cage.
Oh yeah, Nick Cage.
Nick Cage.
Which is also a fantastic musician, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That says that. So that was certainly it. Also in the period of my life of being about 17 years old, if I remember correctly, that quote and the whole movie around it and the whole atmosphere around it has certainly made a big impact on my life.
Last question, I promise you. 4 Ps in, let's say, 5-10 years period. Where are you?
Where are we in a 5? We've actually, I've internally, and I'll make that public right now, I've set myself a clear goal. I've set ourselves a clear goal where we want to be a recognized international integrator. And international really means international to me.
Wow, that's a bold, right?
Yeah, where we are currently building a platform, and so we want to have a live, widely used platform that allows to manage print production, connected automation as what it is, what I talked about today at the VIGC event. And we want to grow the business to 10-15 million euros, with at the same time staying self-funded, and have a lot of fun along the way, and have really good people to work with.
And I would say that with that ambition and you being a runner and in a good fit and still in your early, you're not even 50 yet, come on. It seems that 5 years is a short period of time, but let's meet in 5 years' time and see how it goes.
I'll look forward to that.
Thank you, Tom. Great seeing you.
Same here.